Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Mosaic virtual coffee morning. Today, I'm delighted to welcome my colleague from the Law Consultancy Network, Simon McCrum, to join us for our chat today. Simon's reputation, a deserved reputation within the marketplace, is well known, but I'm going to ask Simon to say a little bit about himself by way of introduction. But first, it's worth flagging up because we often think we're talking in some kind of hermetically sealed vacuum to ourselves. It's worth mentioning that we've had over 30,000 views of these broadcasts so far. So thanks, Mum, for all of your diligent searching of our recordings. Anyway, good to have you all with us again once again. Simon, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll perhaps start on our first chat this morning, which is going to be picking up one of the themes of your recent book.
Morning, Nigel. Morning, Team Mosaic. Lovely to be here. My reputation is matched and equaled by your own, gentlemen, so it's a real pleasure to be here. In terms of background, I am a solicitor. I still have my practicing certificate. I qualified in 1990 as a commercial litigation fee earner. Quite quickly, I moved into business development and team management, not just of my team in my area of work, but other teams. So I developed an interest, and so, it must have been the case as well, a skill in understanding the business of different work types and different lawyers and marketplaces. And this was all at Pannoni's. And I was on the management team there, director of business development. I had a vision that I wanted to put into practice that was all consuming when it came to a law firm. And I was approached by a firm called Darby's, which was a full service, 6 million turnover, top 150 at that time law firm in Oxford. And they were looking for a managing partner, which was an incredibly honest exercise for a group of equity partners to do, to bring in an equity partner from outside. I went in. That week, the credit crunch started. Traditional law firms went into that not best place, and we were one of them. And we struggled. We had to turn a ship around in a very stormy sea, and we did that. We went a long way backwards, and we became in 2013. So that going backwards, by the way, that was masterclass 1 in my life. We then came out of that, went into a high growth phase. Became the fastest growing law firm in the country, and that was masterclass 2. And both of them, I wouldn't be where I am today doing what I do without both of those masterclasses. And in 2016 we were acquired by the mighty Knights, now Knights PLC. I think we were their first big acquisition at the time. They've now moved on and done dozens more. I stayed there for a year and then exited, and I now run McCrum Consulting, where I help law firms do the things I did right and avoid the things I did wrong, all as encapsulated in my book, Nigel, The Perfect Legal Business.
Exhibit 1.
There we have it. And I'm the proud owner of a signed first edition. Whoops, there we go. So Simon, one of the most enjoyable themes of the book, and it's something that I'm sure all of my colleagues have heard you speak about on public platforms before, is the tendency of law firms to chase shiny when maybe they should be concentrating on something else. Would you like to explore that a little with us?
Yeah, so obviously this is, I'm not talking about every law firm, because there's a lot of perfectly beautiful businesses, which are businesses, which are law firms. But if I speak from my own experience, I and a lot of law firms I've come across over the decades do tend to chase what I call the shiny things. I mean, it's a matter of huge import to lawyers and managing partners, and it's almost a sign of the success of a managing partner whether they've gone up the ladder, and to what degree in the, I don't know, the legal the turnover table, what's it called, the
Lawyer 200.
The 200, yeah. Where are we this year? Oh my goodness, we've gone up. Wow. I mean, I was one of those. I used to chase that dragon. It's to me, it's a now. In the cold light of day, it's just an utterly seductive, cruel mistress that actually gets your business nowhere. In fact, dangerously, it takes you in the very opposite. Number of fee earners, number of offices, number of partners, awards. industry awards. These are shiny things that become, you only have to look at the traffic on LinkedIn whenever there's been an awards ceremony, or the latest edition is out of some directory or other, and you see that everyone is celebrating these things. When was the last time any of us saw a post about debtor days? When did we last see a gross margin post? Turnover is up again, guys. Brilliant. Our cash, we've managed to get rid of our overdraft. Yeah. There are no finer business boasts. And to me, and I was, God loves nothing more than one sinner who repents. I was one of these sinners. I was pretty obsessed with, coverage on the front of magazines and all this kind of thing. Actually, what I wasn't looking at was our pricing strategy, something very close to your heart, Nigel. Anyone could price anything across our 100 200 lawyers. And of course, how did they price it? They priced it to convert the call. Well, that's easy, just charge £1. Okay, so I took my eye, I didn't have my eye on that ball. I didn't have my eye on, profitability of work, gross margin at team level. Didn't look at that. Chargeable hours, yeah, we kind of had that somewhere on the radar, but it didn't matter because if you hit your billing target, you got promoted. Well, you could hit your billing target by working from 9 till 1. People could effectively clock off. That everyone was delivering expertise in the afternoons, the metaphorical afternoons, but they just weren't charging for it. So there was pride in client care and client service. But across the profession, what I see is no similar pride in business performance. And I'm now an advocate of the shiny things are great, but they have to go hand in hand with the more bread and butter, boring things. So I now look for parallel prides. One is I love the work and the role of solicitors in society. That's very close to my heart, but you cannot do that in a sustainable, ever increasing way, touching more lives, unless the business pride is going with it. And that's all about pricing, doing the work, capturing the work you've done, billing the work you've captured, and getting paid quickly. Those are, so yes, you can, I've seen, and of course there are firms out there that have won multiple awards, but they've got debtors books running to millions of pounds.
Just before I open it up to everyone else, Simon, over the last decade or so, have you seen any significant change in the approach of firms in general in this area? How are you seeing more firms concentrating on what really matters, or just as many as ever chasing shiny?
Okay. Well, I've been doing McCrum Consulting for 5 years now, so I can talk about 5 years rather than 10. And the answer is no, I haven't. When I do my work with law firms and I bring these things center stage, there's this realization that, there's an embracing of it. There's a real welcoming of it, not least of all at senior management, middle management level, because generally people have been saying these things. I doubt in this call or in that book I've said anything new. But so in a way, the skill comes with getting lawyers to embrace new priorities. Because all that's happening is, and I've been there, lawyers are making 1,000 or let's say 100 decisions a day on a micro business level, but actually you're not making them in a vacuum. You have got the phone ringing, you've got court hearings, you've got mayhem all around you. The life of a solicitor is tremendously hard work. And you've got to develop the tools so that these things that we all know about and that are already being talked about and have been talked about for years, actually are now given a new priority. And that's what it's all about. So the short answer to your question is, these aren't new things. Firms have talked about them, but I don't think firms in the busyness or in the war, the warfare that is daily life in a law firm, I don't think they've had the time to identify the tools that actually make them happen.
So, Simon, it's wonderful to see you evangelizing like this, and as an accountant, you'd expect me to be wholeheartedly supportive of what you had to say, and there's no but or if here. The question is, if you had to focus on one key metric for a firm to focus on as far as profitability is concerned, what's the metric you get them to actually see as the most important one?
None of those. the first metric I look at, Howard, and you as an accountant, and I've never met an accountant who doesn't do this, but you don't meet many lawyers who give it the priority. I wouldn't look at the very first thing in the first 5 minutes, and I do this, you know. So the firm I said, firm engaged me to look at whether they should open an office in, I don't know, Singapore or Dubai. In the first 5 minutes of that chat, I said, let me see your debtors ledger.
Oh, interesting.
What is the point in merging, acquiring, opening offices around the country, around the just what is the point if all you're doing is rolling out unpaid bills on which you're paying 20% VAT? Your very exciting, shiny growth will lead to your early death. So that's the first. So that's cash. And all my life, and I remember when I was a young solicitor, I actually gave a seminar when I was at a firm called Cobbett's to clients called Cash is King. I didn't know what cash is king actually meant. I thought I did. I mean, I thought it meant get paid. It's only when you have been in a law firm that is growing, and particularly one that is fast growing, that you realize cash is a time bomb. And it kills you. Not least of all, never mind the salaries that are going out, not even just the VAT. Having to, I mean, you can always borrow this and over all that kind of stuff. It changes your personality.
Yeah, Simon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember an old insolvency partner of mine saying, businesses don't die through lack of profit; they die through lack of cash. Yeah.
Aren't we busy? We've got 15 new fee earners. Our turnovers are. Look where we are in the rankings. Look where we are now in the legal 200. You're owed £1.3 million, and I know you're having meetings with the bank every day.
Yeah.
Harry, this is a theme very dear to your heart, the growing pains of cash flow.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, I smile at what Simon was saying, but with the debtors ledger, I remember a conversation with a client of a stunningly well-run firm, very high-profile firm a few years ago, when he said he runs the entire business based on the debtors ledger. And he had a lovely phrase. He said, I'm an absolute pussycat. I accept any excuse except one. He said, and that excuse is, well, you know the answer to that, John, because I told you last month. Something goes a month unsorted, we have a problem. Yeah, I'm letting Simon do the evangelizing today. It's 10, 12 years since I wrote my book on cash flow. And it's absolutely got to be at the focus of everything. Yeah. And the danger is people don't realize, and it's not just the lawyers in firms, a lot of the other teams don't realize just how much cash is consumed in actually growing. And I think one of the things that has struck me, just to pick up on one of Simon's points, if you actually look at the data and look at the benchmark surveys, the lockup days have been coming down steadily now since about 2012, and across the middle market, which we all tend to serve, that's come down by about a month, which is good. But I do wonder how much of that is good management and how much of that has been the switch out of long tail litigation and into quick turnover residential property. Anyway, so there's just a few thoughts to lob in there.
Yeah. So if I could go back to Howard's question, so you asked about profitability. My first measure is not profitability, it's debtors. On profitability, an interesting exercise that it just clears fog and makes people go, wow, is when you look at, if you can, you ask a partner what their hourly rate is. And these days, and I mean outside of the regions, you'll easily find outside of London and in the regions, you'll easily find partners on £400 an hour. But when you look at what they've billed in a year and how many hours they've recorded, it's sometimes as low as £130 an hour. In reality.
Yes.
Because there's the one thing I'm evangelical about, and I did it only this week with particular lawyers I was sat with, where I was saying, lady or gentleman, you change people's lives. You change businesses' lives. You change destinies. You are not a £200 an hour person. You are 400. And one thing I noticed, Nigel, I was interested, and I was advocating your pricing training to them, how to get the best price for your expertise. Actually, what I identified in a lot of situations is not getting the best price, but getting any price. They think it's all, yeah, well, we look after this client for the next 5 years, there'll be an exit. Or we look after them, we're trying to land their big bill of litigation we know is coming, so we're giving loads of free time away. So it's not about getting a best price, is it? And actually, what I find you can get away with if you're a brilliant lawyer. If you're a poor lawyer, it doesn't work. If you're a brilliant lawyer, you can charge for everything, and indeed, I think you should. What do you think of that, Nigel?
Well, absolutely, and you'll know this, but in my pricing training, we do quite a lot on the on lawyers' firmly held belief that there's more jam tomorrow than there is to be had today, and it's tosh. And you know, I always ask people, how often does this pan out for you? The client who says, if you'll do this one for me cheap, I've got a bagload more like that under my arm. I mean, it happens about as often as England winning the World Cup. And I'm lucky enough to have lived through it once. So yeah, it's tosh. You've got to ground lawyers, Simon, into the here and now.
Yeah.
And they're all, as you rightly say, they're all offering value to their clients.
Yeah.
There's too many lawyers out there that have been brought up almost feeling as though they're in the charitable sector.
Yeah, yeah. So I had a group of commercial teams of a big law firm in Birmingham in a room, and we were talking about this amongst all the whole profitability question. And one of the partners, a commercial property partner, put his hand up and said, can I run something by you? I've got this going on right now. I've got a developer, and I'll make these two figures up because I can't quite remember. I've got a property developer, and he's asked me what we charge for a new lease on one of his units, and I've said 1650, and he said, well, if I do it for 750, I can have all his work. And I've said, well, what would you have done before you met me? And he said, to be honest with you, we'd have done it for 750 and celebrated the fact that we'd got all his work. And I said, what are you going to do now? He said, I'm going to tell him we only do a proper job here. I know the things that can go wrong. I'm going to do it at 1650. We don't want all your work at 750. He told him that, and during the meeting, he came back and the client says, I'm on. You're on.
Good.
These guys, give them an inch.
The way to deal with the client that wants the discount is to say, let's have your work first, and then we can talk about a volume discount.
Nice, that's brilliant.
I was just going to say, actually, that, you know, a little plug for Nigel's pricing training, of course. If you get the pricing right and you've got the client bought into the pricing, then that really solves a lot of your debtor problems because the client is happy to pay. You've still got to keep on top of it, absolutely. But we found, since we've sort of got clients involved in pricing options, that they are more willing to pay up when you send them the bill.
Very good.
Well, I'm delighted that this very pleasant chat with you, Simon, turned into a small plug for me as well. Yes. That's very typical of you, Simon. Very generous. But I think on the theme of the perfect legal business, we're about done for this chat. So thank you all for your contributions, and we'll meet again soon.